I headed over to my local dollar store and found everything that I needed for the project. The first thing to do is to cover the wreath form with the wide burlap. This is to hide the wreath form. Some people use moss to fill in the gaps, but for this wreath, I wanted to create a vintage French-style wreath. Lay the burlap ribbon all along the top of the wreath form and cut a little bit extra so that you aren't short. Flip the wreath form over and carefully glue the burlap to the back of the wreath form. The burlap will also keep the wreath from scratching your door. Next, we're going to prep the pots by poking holes in the bottom of the pots with a pencil. Now we're going to age the pots with paint. This is where the French theme comes in. If you've ever seen some of the vintage pottery from France, it has more of a grayish beige undertone rather than the orangey tones of terracotta. Just mix white acrylic paint with water. You can use a sponge or paper towel and dab on the watered down paint all the way around the pot, the bottom, and the top edges. Once dry, take the large pot and string twine through the hole in the base and pull a good amount of twine all the way through. For added security, glue the pot to the burlap on the wreath form. Simply pull the twine through the pot and wrap the twine all the way around the wreath. Then take one of the small pots and feed the twine through the hole and glue the pot in place. To make life easier, tape the end of the twine so it will feed through the holes better. Alternate the pots up and down and make your way around the wreath. Here I am attaching the last pot and it worked out nicely for spacing. Once again, just flip the wreath over, tie the twine in a knot, glue, and trim off the excess. For my flowers, I went with simple white and yellow daisies for spring. Cut pieces of oasis and glue into the pots. Then add your flowers by sticking them into the oasis. I put white daisies in the large pot and also into the two small pots on either side of the large pot. Then I put yellow daisies in the next pot. So when it comes to the small pots, I put white daisies in two pots, then yellow in one, and then repeated it all the way around. Here it is, all done. You could add ribbon if you like, but I love the simplicity of leaving it just as it is.
We're going to start with this mossy 16-inch wreath base, and the first thing we're going to work in are some of our garden tools. And instead of hot gluing it or wiring it in, if we just kind of move the form around a bit, we're able to wedge this little rake in, and you have to have a trowel when you garden. So we're also going to work this in as well. And just the force of the grapevine will keep it in place. And every gardener needs a good pair of gloves, so we're going to take one pair and just set it on top of one another. And you can find these from any garden store, any home improvement store, basically any store this time of year. So we're going to just take a little length of wire and just secure the gloves. The gloves aren't really there to look pretty, but it does complete a set, and this would make a great gift. I mean, who wouldn't want to receive a little garden kit? So now that we have our gloves wired together, we can just place these wherever we choose. I'm going to place mine on the left-hand side, and then just cutting off the excess wire. I've picked up a few seed packets, and we're going to just add a little hot glue to the back. So just make sure wherever you're adding your hot glue, you're not actually touching the seeds with it. So all of the seeds on this one are at the bottom, so we're not going to have any issues with damaging them. And then we can just take them and hot glue them directly to the wreath. When your friend or family member wants to use the seeds, they can just simply pop them right off the grapevine. Coming back in with the second pack, added a little hot glue to the top, and we're going to just secure that and kind of alternate them so they look aesthetically pleasing. And it's time to come back in with some artificial flowers, and you can find flowers, your grapevine base, and your snips from nicksseasonaldecor.com. And what we're going to do is we're just going to snip off each flower. So feel free to use whatever flowers. We are using sunflower seeds, so if you would like to use sunflowers in this design, you can. You could do a floral wreath. You could also be doing, just like an herb wreath as well. So I'm just going to take these and work them on the left-hand side. I am dipping them in a little bit of hot glue, whether you use a glue skillet or a hot glue gun. It works just the same, and this will just permanently secure these flowers in place. So when it comes time to remove your trowel and your cultivator and your seeds and your gloves, you still have a pretty wreath that you can display. And we'll work in a couple more flowers. Here we have some yellow daisies. Again, dip it in your glue skillet or your hot glue gun. and just simply work them in. And one more flower. So now let's hang this wreath up and give you the final reveal, but I think this would make the ultimate gift. I would love to receive something like this. And here is how the wreath turned out. I think it turned out so pretty, and it's so simple. Anybody and everybody can make something like this. As I mentioned before, I think something like this would make a great gift, and it's the gift that keeps on giving. You can plant the seeds and have beautiful flowers for years to come.
A mop head. I was positive I could make something great with this. First, you will need to dismantle the mop head. The pieces of mop are already cut into equal-sized lengths. If you choose to paint the mop head materials, make sure to first base coat the foam circle in the same color that you will be painting the fabric, so that the foam does not show through. Take a piece of the mop and loop it in half. Wrap it around the foam circle and pull the ends through the looped end. Pull tight. Then press the looped area down so that the looped end rests on your counter. Repeat all the way around the foam circle until you have it all filled in. Next, it's time to stiffen the mop strands so that they will stand out straight from the foam circle. And for this, you will need a lot of Mod Podge. Test and make sure that the strands are completely dry and stiff. If some are not stiff, recoat and once again leave to dry. Now comes the fun part. I played around with many different alternatives. I felt it needed one more thing, so I added a round mirror behind the mop wreath with hot glue. Adding a mirror to wreaths always makes it more interesting, as you will see reflections in it once it is hung. To decorate the wreath, I created a simple bow with the floral burlap ribbon and glued it on the front. Look how pretty it looks on the French door to my cute little greenhouse. Adding the mirror is perfect because look how it captures beautiful reflections like my colorful basket hanging nearby. If neutral isn't your thing, then here is another option. Using a sponge brush, coat all the sides of the mop strands with paint. As it was the end of summer and the beginning of fall, I decided a nice yellow and orange color scheme would be appropriate. Painting it like the sun with the lightest yellow color in the center and a soft peachy orange color in the middle of the strands, and then a deep orange on the outer tips. Like working with Mod Podge, you need to thoroughly coat all sides of the mop material with paint, or the white foam will show through and spoil the effect. It is pretty cute and cheery whether on my greenhouse door or my garden gates. I'm sure it'll bring a smile to your face.
What we have here is an 18-inch square wreath, and I really like these because it's something different than your typical round wreath. First thing we're going to work in are some of these beautiful white peonies. I'm going to use our clippers. You can find all of the supplies from the square grapevine to the flowers and cutters from nicksseasonaldecor.com. And I'm just going to snip each stem individually so that we have one stem with a little bit of foliage. I'm going to add a generous amount of hot glue to the base of these stems, and then I'm going to be really particular with my placement. I want to make sure that it grabs onto the grapevine to prevent it from slipping out, so make sure that you're holding onto the grapevine with that hot glue and that it's anchored to the stem. And all we're going to do is just take our flowers and start filling in. And I'll place one more piece here. And notice that we have like a little setting of all of the flowers kind of placed evenly. One thing I want to mention too is that the flowers are not touching. If you end up placing them too close together, it can kind of look like one big flower, and we definitely don't want that to happen. Now I'm taking some of the stems from that same bush that just has mixed greens, and I'm just going to take those, I'm going to place them between the peonies. So I'm going to just take these and start filling in. And since we've kind of already set the stage with the amount of products, we're not going to really extend too far past these. So we're going to kind of stay within our guidelines here, and then a few pieces can kind of jet out every which way so it doesn't look as full and bulky. And our final piece, I'll lift up that peony and tuck it in underneath. And that is it. We can work in more if we choose. I think it looks beautiful as is. So let me hang this up and show you the full effect. And here is how it turned out, you guys. I absolutely love it. So we used a peony bush, an ivy bush, and a square grapevine wreath, and that is it. You can find all of the supplies at nicksseasonaldecor.com. Feel free to work in a picture frame in the middle. Use whatever flowers and greenery you have on hand, or you prefer for your own home. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Nick Kretikos of Nick Seasonal Decor, and you're watching me on Hometalk. See you in the next episode.